Yes, let's wait 2 minutes for other participants can join and we start, okay? Thank you so much.
Good morning, Delphine, David.
Good morning.
And Jose Manuel, sorry.
Hello, Patricia. Good morning.
Hola.
Hola.
So when you want, we can start. Yes, Patricia?
Yes.
So
When you want. When you want, I don't know if it's all Marusa, Faisal is not a speaker. Morgan, yes. Julia Salavar is not a speaking.
Good morning.
good morning.
Hello, Patricia. I think that we have to wait for Manuel Paris from the.
Yes, but
the
you know,
list.
Manuel Paris is in a meeting that started before this meeting. So we are going to start, and when is the intervention of Manuel, if he is not connected, we can continue with the next intervention, and then I will give him the word. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now let's start. Welcome, good morning to everyone. Welcome to this webinar in which we will talk about the contribution of the transnational cooperation projects to the smart specialization strategies in the Atlantic area under the FAMBEST project. FAMBEST is a project funded by the Atlantic Area Interreg program through the European Regional Development Fund. My name is Irene Otero, and I will hold the role of moderator of this session today. First, I will give the word to David Rodeiro Pazos. He is from the Department of Financial Economics and Accounting at the University of Santiago de Compostela. David, when you want, you can share your presentation.
Okay, but I will do welcome, and then in the second part of this event, I will present some of the results of FAMBEST. So I just want to welcome everybody to participate in this event. It's one of the finals events that we will have in the project. It's a long project that we started in 2018, presenting for the call of the Atlantic area, and now 5 years after this starting point of the project, we are here to present some of the contributions of our project and other projects related with us. So today in the event we have 3 different parts and 3 different contents in each one. In the first one, we will give the floor and the opportunity to
sorry, David. We can hear you.
Sorry.
I would like to ask you, have you got a presentation or something for the welcome?
No. For the welcome, it's gonna be just a few words, because I don't want to steal time for all the speakers that we have
Okay, thank you very much.
today. So I was telling us that I really appreciate the participation of all the speakers today in this event. That is one of the final events that we have in FAMBEST. FAMBEST is a project that started in 2018, so long time ago, from these kick-off events that we have in that year. So today we will have in the event 3 different parts. One is more related with policy framework. For that, we will have here people working in public institutions like Xunta de Galicia and other institutions like Instituto para el Crecimiento Sostenible de la Empresa, and of course one of the partners of FAMBES, that is the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions, that is a really important agent in promoting blue economy. And in the second part, we have more related with conclusions and recommendations. And for that, we will involve members of Vertical Lab and Craftium and myself representing University of Santiago de Compostela, to end in the final part of the event with the conclusions and questions that can appear after this event. So I just gonna thank you again, everybody, to stay here, to be involved in this event. And I will give the floor again to Irene to introduce the first part of the event. Thanks, Irene.
Thank you, David. The next intervention is carried out by Manuel París on behalf of the Galician Innovation Agency from the Xunta de Galicia, which is our regional government. I would like to know if Manuel is here with us.
Just arrived.
Oh, hello, Manuel. Welcome.
Sorry, I had some problems with the Zoom.
We know.
There, but it's okay now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. So when you want, you have the word. Thank you.
I'm the first.
Yes.
Okay. So shall I share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, thanks very much, first of all, for the invitation to share our experience with the S3, with the RIS3. Let me see if are you seeing my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to move this from here. Okay. And so we are very glad that we can deliver this presentation, because this is going to be the first or the second this time, but the very first presentation of our strategy for the new period in English, because it was only presented 2 days ago in a formal event here in the region. So this is like fresh news, even though I think that in the end it is not so there are not so many things as like any other smart specialization strategy in Europe. This is so to say, the second edition. So we have these presentations, which are exactly an update, so to say, of the previous period, which is the case with ours. So as for our region, the sea and the blue economy is still very important for a number of reasons, but also for historical, in our historical background, it has been happening like that. The blue economy has a strong presence in the strategy, even though there is no specific section for that. But let's say that across the different priorities and challenges and objectives, the blue issues are included. So informally, as I said, this strategy was approved at regional level last year, around 1 year ago, but only approved by the European Commission by the end of next year, and formally presented this week. So one aspect to be considered is that, of course, one thing is to have a strategy, but then you need to have some, we also have some plans linked to that. So at the moment, we are working, let's say, at regional level when it comes to innovation with the S3 as the framework for the period 2021-2027, but it is implemented through different research and innovation plans. These plans normally are made for 3 years. So at the moment, there is one plan, but within the same the current period until 2027, there will be a second and a new plan inside this strategy. So there is, of course, everything responds to all these plans respond to a background, and the main thing I would say is that this strategy intends to place R&D and I as the key for the transformation the region wants to achieve. And the transformations are the reason for these transformations, or the need, is given by different challenges and different elements. One of them, of course, is the need to adapt, so to say, or to respond to the global changes. I think that climate change is something we are very familiar with. Demographics too, and especially in our region, you know that this is a very important issue to be tackled. And also then there is this geopolitical issues taking place at the moment, economic changes due to some or a number of aspects, but also social changes. And also, we also have to take into account the elements or the characteristics of the region. And in our case is the increased importance of the SMEs, of course, the change in the industry patterns. But we also need to be able to get a balance between the very traditional sectors that exist in the region, but which need some transformation, and we expect that it is based on knowledge. And of course, we need in Southern Europe, normally there is a need to create more jobs because unemployment is always there, but also to improve the quality of these jobs. So this is also in the as part of the background of this strategy. Well, this vision and mission, we want to have a more sustainable and digital society, which is something that is part of, say, the European Union challenges at the moment. And what we expect is to get that through a more integrated collaboration between the different actors or stakeholders in our R&D and I ecosystem. And also through putting the focus on the main value chains in the region. And with this, what do we expect in the end? I mean, the final aim is always the impact on the citizens. So as a, let's say, change to the previous period, we can say that we are trying to put the citizens more in the center of the policies. And this is, we think, or we expect, clear in the changes or in the new version of the S3. These are the evolution from one moment to I mean, from the beginning of this period to the end. As we know, there is these priority aspects, which are the sustainability. We have to look for the digitization. We have to address these society challenges. As we said, the citizen is more in the center now. And then we will take some steps that I think is more easy to see in the next slides. But the most important, I think, is that we have our strategy is built on a matrix, so to say, where challenges and priorities, let's say, come together. So the challenges for us are three main challenges, as in the 2014-2020 period, which is the improve the management of our cultural and natural resources. This is also because the primary sector in Galicia is still quite important, I mean, much more than the average in European regions. We also want to change the industrial model, more based on knowledge mainly. And we would also like to work much on to have a more healthy society, and in which active aging should play an important role. And then we have these 3 priorities, which are based on, again, on the sustainability, but scientific and technological solutions for sustainability. Also, another priority is to enhance the digitization of the industry and the social models, and also in making Galicia as a living lab for tasting new solutions. I think this is something, because I wouldn't like to go too long. This is more theoretical, the challenges, as it is going into a bit more detail on that, the same as we explained the priorities. But I would like to go into this. I mean, all this then falls into a list of priority areas, in which you will see that the marine element is not very obvious in most of them. In some of them it is, and in some of them are not. But because of the characteristics of our economy, it is mostly all over the place. For instance, in the first one, biofuel and renewable energies, of course, there are marine renewables is involved there, but the second one is already on agriculture, marine. I mean, this is already the sustainable building. The decarbonization affects also the transport system, marine transport systems. Circular economy and industrial symbiosis also affects in the marine environment, etc., etc. So there is a number of priorities. Digitization, again, focuses all this list, in which again marine elements fall quite often. In fact, if we can, let's say, take from those lists, from that list, we could take some of the elements that are more important for the marine let's say, ecosystem. In this strategy, there is a special focus, or the main elements, the main marine elements have to do with still with the fishing, because as I think you are all familiar with, we are still in the biggest fishing fleet in Europe. It is aquaculture, but it's also the fish, seafood processing is there, but also marine energy. And I would mention it's not clearly mentioned there, but also another marine biotechnology or marine bioelements. As said, still fishing and aquaculture are very important for the Galician economy, so it is there is a strong focus on that, but also because it is very important for the economy out in the coastal areas, out of the urban spaces. And we have seen in the previous, let's say, RIS3 period, is the innovation over the past years in these sectors has increased, has grown, and so there's been a focus on the quality and traceability of the products, and also this is seen in the results, in the economic results of the marine industry, for instance, which is very strong and is being successful in the international markets. Well, this is just to show how the marine value chain is present all over the coast. These blue balls show the places where there is a activity, industrial or innovation activity in the sector. So it is all over the coast. And so this is for the marine. And just going back to the S3, well, this is also, I just took an image from the presentation on Tuesday, so it was not possible to translate it into English yet. But the most important is that we have, mainly here in the Galicia Innovation Agency, we have a number of funding programs to support innovation in different aspects. And as you can see, 51% of our budget goes to programs, initiatives, call for proposals, etc., under the group which is called complete and transfer. So it is just to scale up. It is funding to help scale up technological development, and help to bring this into the market. I would also like to call the attention that 14% goes into people and talent, so this is skills. I don't know how I am with the time. I'm just coming to an end. Am I okay with the timing, or am I going too late?
You are okay, Manuel.
I'm okay.
Yes.
Okay, so these are also in the new strategy. What is new compared to the previous one is that in the past, or in the S3, we managed to have a quite extensive participatory process. I mean, the EDP, the European Discovery, the Entrepreneurial Discovery process was very successful, but we were not able to keep it over the time. I mean, over time, it was very successful at the beginning of the elaboration of the S3, but then the participation decreased very much. So we, in this period, we aim to strengthen, to keep this participation alive throughout the project, the S3 period, and also to have a better dissemination and make the outcomes reach to the people more clearly. Then also we commented this instrument, the new instruments represent qualitative advance. I mean, with instruments, we mean these financial instruments I mentioned in a couple of slides before, but we need to keep developing them and mainly adapting the instruments to sector needs. I mean, something that has been expressed by them, but also to the challenges that we described at the beginning. Then we also, from the evaluation and the feedback we got from the stakeholders, we think that this S3 is the adequate for Galicia, but there is again room for improvement, especially with the integration in the European value chains, for instance, or to push forward better or more adequate or stronger tractors, so to say, projects and initiatives. And we think that in the money was invested in R&D in a better manner with the S3, but there is a need to increase the public-private collaboration, and also I think it is not there, but we feel that we need to attract more investment from, let's say, other source of funding from away of the region, but also we need to increase the investment, the private investment in R&D. So this is what we aim to do. So this is like a small summary. We have in terms of, let's say, governance and the way the S3 is going to be managed and pushed forward in the administration. I think this is one of the biggest changes. The task group to provide the to make it reach to all the sectors in a cross manner is going to be essential in this period. It was one of the criticisms made to our S3 strategy in the past period. I think the main two criticisms or failures or weakest aspects had to do with the lack of transversality, if you can say that in English, I don't know, or this cross-sectorial, cross-departments approach, and also not to being able to keep the EDP strong throughout the whole S3 period. So for that, we have created a new governance model in which all departments in the regional government are represented. It is this, and it is important that all the ministers are members of this task group. A number of departments, as you can see, 23. I mean, the whole administration is represented now there. So with this, we expect to have a bigger impact and a stronger impact in all the areas of the regional administration, and with that, of course, to have a increased impact of the R&D policies in the whole economy of the region, including, of course, the marine. Well, this is just a scheme of the, but this again, we could not manage to produce this in English, but this is the cross-departmental, let's say, task group. I think that's it from my side, and thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Thank you.
Shall I stop sharing?
So now, sorry, because my phone. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Manuel. So now I give the word to Yolanda Molares. She is from ICSEM, the Institute for Sustainable Business Growth. But Yolanda cannot be here in person today for agenda reasons, but she has recorded her intervention that you will see in a few minutes. Please, if you can share the presentation of Yolanda.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today with all of you, and I would like to thank you, FAMBEST Project Coordination, as they've been working for so many years already on the approach and fostering the concept of the blue economy. Thank you very much for inviting us to share with you the experience on blue economy agenda's elaboration. We've been working with this approach since 2016, more or less, since when it was approved and it was launched by the World Bank and by the European Commission. As you already know, blue economy concept is no more and no less than an approach to sustainability, to how to promote, how to ensure sustainability, in this case to blue areas, to ocean and land areas. So according to the World Bank definition, the blue economy refers to the sustainable use of the ocean's resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs, while of course preserving the health of ocean ecosystems. But the European Commission goes a bit more accurate to say that it refers to all economic activities related to the ocean, seas and coast. They are also called nowadays the blue economic activities. As I said, many definitions lead to comprehend what the oceans means, that the oceans today means a source of opportunities for sustainable development. That means that we have to take into account when we do any strategic of planning to implement this approach to the oceans strategies, to the oceans development, sustainable development, that we must include and take into account the three dimensions of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. The importance of the blue economy approach has been reckoned globally, yeah? So regions, nations, organizations are already rethinking their development strategies. There's not a specific guidance on how to implement the blue economy approach. There is not an official guidance by any organizations that will tell us how to implement it. However, there are many experiences already, and those experiences give us some tips on those aspects that we should take into consideration, that we consider when we approach the strategic planning of a specific territory. That is the first point, a holistic approach to the territory. That means to understand, to analyze the territory, bearing in mind the different dynamics, social, economic, and environmental dynamics that are already happening in that territory. That means also taking into account the different sectors, the different blue economic activities that interacts. For example, fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, they all are interacting. So we should understand, and then we are joining here an MSP approach, a marine spatial approach, how all these activities interact and how we can create synergies among them. Also, a multidisciplinary approach should be taken into account. So we should build teams. We should build working teams with people that have expertise and that cover different disciplines. And these disciplines are those that are related to the 3 dimensions of the sustainability. This will help for sure to implement that holistic approach, and also to take into account the different stakeholders that again operates in that territory. So a participatory process is essential, is one of the key issues to ensure effectiveness and realistic strategy. This participatory process should involve different stakeholders from the private sector, from the public sector, academia, and also civil, the third sector, NGOs, and of course, government. Participatory process can be implemented through workshops, through interviews, through surveys, and so on. And of course, the results of that process has to be clearly included in the results and in the final output of the strategy. When we are talking about outputs, we are talking about clear outputs. It's not about having everything in that strategy. It's about to be very clear on what we want to achieve with that strategy, with specific projects, with specific actions, and with specific KPIs that help us to monitor the real impact. Because at the end of the day, Blue Economy approach is about impact, about creating an impact which is sustainable, and it helps people to improve their lives. Surely a governance system should be there, should be very clear there, a governance system that ensures the sustainability and the implementation of that strategy, and a communication strategy should be implemented from the beginning of the process. So all stakeholders are directly involved, but also all that are not directly involved are very clear on what is going on, and also it helps to the understanding of this new approach. Well, some examples of that, one of them is the Estrategia Regional para el Crecimiento Azul en los países del SICA, which is the regional strategy for the blue growth of the SICA countries. The SICA is the Central American system of integration. This strategy was started during the pandemic, and one thing that I would like to reflect from that is that it joins a division of 6 countries in Central America, at least 6 countries in Central America, at least more than 100 people that were involved in that, and that this strategy was built from the creation of different working groups, which were one of those was an advisory group. So there it was involved all those stakeholders that have the decision capacity, and then there were 6 thematic groups that were involving the blue economics activities, like for example fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, but also blue energy, but also blue careers, and academia. The result of this strategy was very clear, and they tried to position with the strategy the SICA region as a blue SICA region, which means that the policies, that it will be the framework for the future policies, projects, and action in that region, and that it ensures the involvement of the 3 dimensions of the sustainability. Nowadays, that strategy is under implementation. An observatory has already been created. A governance structure is already created, which is OSPESCA, an organization, sectorial organization there at the SICA region, but also with other organizations that, again, are in charge of the decision making. Also, the thematic working groups, are on, and they are still working on the follow-up and monitoring and the implementation of those activities. Just to say just one more thing that is very important, and that strategy, I think is an example on that, is that to ensure the sustainability of the strategy itself, they've been working on a financing strategy, to ensure that they will get a budget and they will have financial resources available in order to implement the projects and actions. This strategy was implemented with the support of the European Commission. This is another example of a national blue economy strategy, which is under development now, is coming to the end in Guinea-Bissau. We've been working there with UNDP, and this is, well, here you can see an example of a workshop, a presentation. This was a presentation of the final results. And here, just to highlight also that it's been very important, and I would say that the most complicated process has been the elaboration of the final budget or the investment plan of that strategy. Something that's been very important in the elaboration of this strategy is taking into account, has been to compile and to take into account all the works that have already been done in Guinea-Bissau, and all the efforts that are in progress and are under planning as well by different multilateral and regional organizations in Guinea-Bissau. So we are not stepping over each other, but we are complementing each other and creating synergies. This is just, I'm coming to the end. This is another kind of a blue economy planning. This is the blue economy planning from the perspective of a port, the Port of Vigo here in Spain. And this is specifically is an example of, well, how they, from the very beginning of the planning of the strategy and now they are implementing, they started to work on the monitoring actions, trying to identify from the objectives and expected outcomes how through the projects and action they will be able to achieve those objectives with specific goals and specific KPIs. You can see here one example, and I am also giving you there the link so you can have access directly to that. And then finally, just something that comes from the oven. This is the first guidance to become the first guidance that it is about becoming blue. This is the guidance to become a blue port, and it's been done elaborated by FAO under the Blue Ports initiative that they are implementing together with different countries all over the world globally, and specifically focused to the fishing ports. And this document is aimed to give a support, to give some tips to the fishing ports to elaborate their own strategies, as the Port of Vigo did. This is already available in the website. And then just to finalize and to fit to the time, just to remember what I said at the very beginning. Just remember that when you're planning a blue economy approach, what you are doing is planning the sustainability of a territory or the sustainability of an organization, but that this has direct impact on the people's life, and it has direct impacts in the economics and in the preservation of the natural resources. Start always from what is already done. This is not about reinventing the wheel. This is about giving more inputs and adding value to the wheel that is already invented, but with an integrated approach. Participation is key. I've already insisted on that, and it's key to ensure quality and to ensure appropriation. Take your time, It is important that you take your time because participation takes time, and we must ensure that the involvement of the different stakeholders. But by taking your time, that doesn't mean that it has to be forever. It should not be much, and also the results should be reverted back to the stakeholders that have participated in there. We should not tire the stakeholders, and we should be effective. The governance structure is very important, and that means investment, and that means budgeting, and that means a specific strategy to attract financial sources. Otherwise, projects and actions will not be able to implement, and then the strategy will fail. And then for sure, communication. Communication is a must, We need the involvement of all the stakeholders, but we also need to say what we are doing. This will also attract new ideas, and it will be a work of a collective intelligence. So thank you very much. We always say that when you are working on blue economy approach, you are working on a change, an approach of a change towards sustainability. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I'm always ready for any question and for any additional information. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Okay, thank you very much to Yolanda. Now I would like to give the word to finalize with this part of the session to Elise Waterloo from the Atlantic Arc Commission. Elise, when you want.
Hello, hello. Thanks for your invitation. So it won't be Elise Waterloo, it will be me this time. Apologies that she could not be there. So she sends her best regard to everyone. So I will share my screen now. Can you let me know if you can see it? No. Okay.
No, not yet.
So let's see now. Maybe that way it will be more efficient.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
now it's
all good.
working.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Now it's working.
So I'm Delphine Kaczorowski. Can you the share? Yes, it's still working. Sorry for that. So I'm Delphine Kaczorowski. I'm Project and Policy Officer at the CPMR. Briefly, for those who may not be aware of who we are a politically led association representing more than 150 regions, peripheral maritime regions from 24 countries from the EU, but also beyond. We are also subdivided by geographical commissions, and I'm representing today the CPMR Atlantic Arc Commission, gathering 14 regional authorities from Portugal, Spain, France, the UK, Ireland as well. And they work together on specific priorities. And since we are a politically led association, we have a current president under this current mandate. It's Inigo Urkullu, so president of the Basque Country government. And our vice president is Maria Teresa Moraes de Almeida from Lisboa and Vale do Tejo region in Portugal. So we joined the FANBEST partnership to contribute to the activity on regional smart specialization strategies in the Atlantic. And so I won't explain you what they are, of course, but the idea was to conduct a comparative analysis of Atlantic S3s between the two programming periods, so 2014, 2020 and 2021, 2027, with a particular focus on the blue dimension to identify synergies and to work towards more cooperation between the Atlantic regions on blue S3s. So we had actually the pleasure to present our work on the occasion of one FANBEST event in Santiago de Compostela in June 2022. And today we would like to share with you the update on those latest findings of this analysis with new editions of S3s were not published at the time. So we added Canary Islands, Andalusia, Azores, Norte and Andalusia. And so far, Cantabria is still the one to be published, but this should be done very soon as they are at the latest stage of their validation process from what we heard. Before going into deep also, I would like just to bounce back on one presentation, because we actually during the analysis, we could see that the region had really triggered further EDP process, and so high level of interactions between the Atlantic RAD stakeholders. And we actually now I can take a good note on the fact that, for example, in the case of Galicia, you did it, but also now the idea is to make it perpetuate, to be a long-lasting process in the time. So that's something that we hear, and thanks for this output, actually. So to go back to the comparative analysis. So first of all, on the overall smart specialization strategies, we could see that mostly the regions, they kept their smart specializations for the period 2021-2027. And so on this table, you can see in orange the new added priorities, and in yellow the removed ones. And what we could feel is that when the changes existed, they were mainly meant to either reduce the number of priorities or increase the focus on certain specializations. Or we could also see emerging trends on new additions, such as conservation of ecosystems, circular economy. So we can see it, for example, for Lisboa and Vale do Tejo, Alentejo, Centro, Asturias, Ireland, Galicia as well. So that's the overall for the comparison of the S3s. But now to go a bit more specific on the blue S3s. We can note that the new additions of this compared to June 2022 confirmed this trend of dedicated priorities on blue economy. So in the case of Andalusia, for example, it has been a total novelty compared to the previous programming period to have blue economy priorities. So overall, blue economy has often been either kept with a bit of more focus, such as for Brittany, or newly added for Ireland and Andalusia as a whole pillar of their S3 document. And in some regions, also the number of blue economy sectors targeted by the strategies have increased. For example, again, Galicia, also we could see it, Lisboa, Vale do Tejo, and so these trends, they show that there is really a stronger focus for Atlantic regions investment in research development and innovation. And we could also, now that we see we have more of a global overview except for Cantabria, we can also note that there's emerging common trends on the prediction of coastal phenomena, on mitigation, adaptation, and also blue biotechnologies that have been the most newly added in the Atlantic regions for this programming period. So with these first findings, we can see that it is clear that there are similarities and complementarities between Atlantic regions S3s, blue S3s. So they could offer opportunities for cooperation on the R&D and greater internationalization processes of transferring technology from one region to another. So we can also note that this top three, let's say, common interest on blue economy is on aquaculture and fisheries, marine renewable energies, and also blue biotech. So as for now, the idea is that for our next steps is that based on this analysis, but also based on this, the roundtables of FANBES, such as the one that we have today, based on what we hear also from you, we will develop policy recommendations on Atlantic Blue S3s. We will also organize a workshop on Blue S3 in June in Brussels. The dates are still to be confirmed, but that should be in June. And also, thanks to the project and to all what we can hear today, also the idea is also to nurture our inner political priority on an Atlantic Arc Commission, is that we wish to create. We have a political priority on the creation of an Atlantic macro region. So the idea is also that the macro region could streamline somehow and enable further cooperation through the S3 tool. So that's a bit for me for today, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Delphine. So now to finalize the part 8, the first part of this meeting, has the word José Manuel San Emeterio from IRNAC. Please, José Manuel, when you want, if you are ready, you have the word.
Thank you, Irene, and hello everybody again. I'm going to share my presentation. You see it? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for FANBES project for inviting us to participate in this roundtable. I'm going to make a presentation about the SAFER project and how we are using the project in particular to try to provide some recommendations or to influence or to share the findings coming from the project for policymakers in the Atlantic area. SAFER started actually even before David was mentioning, I think FANBES started in 2018, but we started even before 2017. And we are finishing the project now in June. We got an extension for additional activities, and actually clustering with you in FANBES is one of the activities that we included in this final part. So this is probably the main reason why we are here. I'm going to make a brief introduction about SAFER and what have been the main results and how we are using this to based on our experience, to share this with the policymakers. So after my intervention, I will give the floor to Delphine, maybe to add some words about the policy toolkit that is at the moment under development. Okay. So SAFER is about improving the innovation of the seafood sector. We target the seafood sector, and the idea was to try to help them to adopt more technology and more cooperation in the Atlantic. We work with a model where we establish a network of clusters in the 5 Atlantic area countries. At that stage, all of them, I mean, we included UK because the project is coming from the previous period. So we have we have nodes in UK, in Ireland, France, Spain, and Portugal. We brought a partnership. You see there the partners. So it was a good mixture of partners, ranging for research centers and private companies that they had the knowledge, like, for example, Food Intake at an Atlantic local university, development agencies in charge of support the sector. So, for example, UDRAS in Ireland, public authorities like the regional government of Cantabria, transnational networks like our case in the case of ERNAC, and also CPMR, for example, and then maritime clusters like Polymer Atlantic, Polymer Brittany Atlantic, or Forum Oceano in Portugal. So it was a good mixture of partners covering all what we thought it was needed to support the seafood sectors in their trying to support their innovation. The main outputs or the main results that we have achieved, we started by providing to the network, providing a platform with where we included more than 80 different innovation services. So this was the initial part, was the core activity at the beginning. And based on that, each of the regions were deciding which of these services would be good to explore, to implement pilots. Pilots are having implemented in real living labs, and in the initial phase we implemented 6 pilots, plus also we were testing another one that was ready for implementation. Mainly the type of pilots were sort of industry 5.0, industries 4.0 pilots. So we implemented a manufacturing production control system software in several companies. This was done on a transnational basis. So just to give you an example, our partner from Portugal was implementing a solution in Ireland and also in France, in private companies belonging to the seafood sector. Our partner from Ireland, Atlantic Technological University, was implementing Internet of Things solutions in UK, in this case in the Loss Agency, for controlling best the oyster harvest, and also to control also in a better way the environmental conditions of the harvest of the oyster. And also in Cantabria, we have this pilot about the process for marine water treatment that reduces energy and is energy efficient. So this is the type of pilots that we were implementing in the original phase. And then you see there that in this additional phase, we are also working in 5 additional living lab pilots that were awarded through an open call. So actually, one of them has already been implemented and is finished in the last month, and the other 4 are expected to be up and running in the next month, or at least by the end of June. That is when the project is finishing. So overall, we think that we got really good experience from working with the sector, from testing in real conditions, and then we were starting some findings that were very useful to provide recommendations to the policymakers. In addition to that, we also work on capitalizing all this type of work that we are doing in the project. So thanks to also our partner CPMR, it was the SAFER catalog was produced in the original phase of the project. And we were also very active trying to be participating in capitalization events. Or for example, we got the award in the Atlantic Stakeholders conference, I think was back to 2020. So what's next, or what we are doing in this additional phase, what we have called SAFER 2.0, we are working in different activities. So, for example, we are, I want just to share here with you today that we are working in an Industry 5.0 position paper based on the knowledge that we have got in the project. Will be released by the end of next month, early May. We have also these additional safer pilots that I was commenting. We are doing these clustering activities that are also important or a good input for the work that CPMR is doing for the policy toolkit. And again, capitalization events where we are trying to not only to share what we are doing, but also to learn from others and to have the opportunity to bring this. And in this case, all these things are important inputs for in particular this policy toolkit that maybe Delphine, I can now
Sure.
give you the floor and maybe you can update the people
Sure.
who are we on this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jose Manuel. So yes, as you said, to make the most of the safer experience and also to grasp a bit this 5.0 context, we are currently working on a policy toolkit addressed to regional policymakers on S3s and most specifically on seafood sector related S3s. So the idea is to have this document as a tool to transfer the results of the SAFER project into guidance for regions on the seafood S3s. And so, although it's still in process, I can maybe give you a few words on the potential content that will be soon to be published. We are aiming for to the end of June, the end of May. Apologies for for the finalization. I believe maybe for the European Maritime Day. So the idea is to have a mapping of the competencies of the regions to support seafood sectors, to provide a recommendation on seafood S3s and so also to reflect on the experience of SAFER. So once it will be published, we'll be happy to share with FANBEST related stakeholders and to the FAIDBEST partners.
Maybe just to add one thing is that from a practical point of view, also even in the first phase, results coming from SAFER were used in particular by the government of Cantabria, that they are in charge of the smart specialization strategy. Delphine, you commented that the registry in Cantabria is not published yet or is not adopted yet, but you know from Jorge that they are targeting this sector as part of their smart specialization strategy, and they were using some of the findings coming from the project, and they are channeling that directly into the revision of this new smart specialization strategy for Cantabria for the period 2021-2027. Okay, so yeah, this is us.
So thank you very much, Jose Manuel. Thank you very much again, Delphine. And now we go with the part B, the second part of the FANBEST, of this session of the project FANBEST. We are going to talk about conclusions and recommendations. I give the word again to David Rodeiro Pazos from the University of Santiago de Compostela. When you want, David.
Okay, thank you, Dani. I'm gonna share my screen here. Sure. So here I go again. I will present some of the main results of our project, FANBEST project. As I say, it started in 2018, 1 year later of our colleagues of SAFER. So in this project, there were involved 9 partners and 5 associates, member associates. So I'm not going through them. What I want to say is that this is really important for this consortium, the mix of partners, because we have involved agents related with the public administration and also private companies and other organizations related with funding and blue economy. So the important in here is to get this partnership that that will be formed by different profiles and partners. So in 2018, we detected a problem. We saw that there was a problem for companies working in blue economy to get funding and to get funds, and especially for creating innovative products and service. So this problem, this gap that we detected was divided in different challenges to our project that were the 5 that you can see in the screen. First, we try to know the funding needs of this company in blue economy sectors, because we want to promote access to financing, to funds to these companies, especially the companies that were smaller, the SMEs companies. So in that way, we can explore the potential of blue economy R&D, improving the access to new technologies, to cutting-edge technologies. And especially as we work in a university, we want to involve academic institutions, and particularly universities, as agents that promote these links between technologies and firms operating in blue economy sectors, to get, of course, the creation of new products, of products with a high level of innovation, products and service, of course, offered by these firms. So to get these goals, we did at the beginning of the project an analysis and a study analyzing the potential of the Atlantic R&D companies and institutions for blue growth. And we detected that our idea, the idea of funding this project was real. And most of the smaller companies, they have problems to implement some policies and some policies related to innovation. So once that the problem was detected, we knew that it was an objective, we start to develop different tools and services focusing in this problem. For example, we created a stock market for these companies, especially the companies that has interest and has as a goal for them to create something new. Also, we develop different webinars for training the different aspects of these companies. So we did 8 different webinars with different experts and speakers that were open for all the companies. So a huge number of companies participate in all of them. But in a second step of our project, we started to focus in specific companies. So, for example, we offer a coach service, but was a service that we offer specifically for 13 companies, 13 projects in different countries, So we open a call for companies to apply for our coaching service. And we get involved companies like Briopana or Reflex Marine that operating all of them in blue economy, but in different areas. Some of them related with energy, and other ones with fishing, so aquaculture. All the areas were involved in these services. So this is the companies. These are the companies that we offer this coach service. But beside that, we also want to get a better internationalization for some of the companies. So we selected another ones, and we try to get a huge number of sales in other countries. So the level of internationalization for these companies were not so high. So we offer our services in rising the sports that they have. With some of the activities, specific activities that we developed were training, of course, to increase the knowledge to reach another markets, but also we create some visits directly in the international markets, and we went to trade shows and fairs for these companies, and of course we make them the network with contacts and with investors and new clients in other countries. So that's the way how we try to increase the internationalization for these companies that you can see on the screen. And also in the Work Package 7, that was one of the last of our project, we tried to reach a higher technology readiness level, because we detected that some of the companies that were developing some technologies for a long time, but they didn't reach the point to go directly to the market, to offer something to the market. So we selected 3 companies that were helped by us to achieve this point, going to the market. So thus the name of the companies are Hydrowing, Ijanga, and Les Lands. As you see, again, we try to select different companies in different fields. So that's the way to open our services and open the goals of our project to all the blue economy sectors. And now, in this extension of the project, because as happened with SAFER, we got the extension of the European Union, and now, beside this activity related to policies and politics, we are trying to enhancing private equity. So we selected another 3 new companies. Always we try to select different companies for all the services in order to achieve the higher number of agents and companies supported by our project. So we will select 3 new companies, and these companies will be helped to get fundraising skills to get funding in private equity. And furthermore, we will do a competition for innovation projects. So we will create a catalog with at least 20 companies that are now developing innovation projects, and we will present some of these finalists in a public event that will be also the final public event of FAMBES project in Santiago de Compostela, and we will give them an award. So these are all of the activities that we've been doing for almost 5 years. It's a long project, but it's not the ending point, because we are also working now in a new proposal for the new call of Atlantic area that we presented 1 month ago, because this project is also an open door for new opportunities in blue economy. It's a sector and area that have potential to grow in the next decades. So we will focus in another specific task in blue economy. So thank you, really thank you for your attention and your participation. And I will give the floor again to Irene for the next speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. Now has the word Morgan Refrey from Vertigo Lab. Morgan, when you want.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So you could see my screen. All right.
Yes, we see the screen.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Morgan Raffrey. I'm from Vertigo Lab, and I work for a company that specializes in the socioeconomic evaluations of companies. Usually we work with more mature companies, but as part of the FanBest project, we work with mostly companies to be projects or advanced startups, but then that hasn't reached the point of being fully implemented in the market. The work that we've conducted as part of FanBest is all gathered in the technical report that details the methodology, and it's available in DOI. I'll show my presentation so you can have access to it. It's also accessible on the FanBest website. As part of this presentation, I have to go back to the methodology, which is always important to understand the results of our work. And then I will look into the company evaluation that we've conducted through this project. And finally, we'll go through the insights and perspectives that we've got from the project. So I start with the methodology. It's as I said, the specialization that we've had at Vertigo Lab is mostly socioeconomic evaluation, which looks into how the impact of an activity impacts the rest of the value chain and the consumption indirectly. So the direct impact could be thought as basically the impact from the activity or the company. If the company has 10 employees, then the direct impact on jobs is 10. But those employees in the company, through operating costs and consumption, have impacts and support jobs and value added and general revenues. And those are those would explain the indirect impacts, which is from the value chain. And I buy some wheat to make bread, then the wheat is creating jobs, and because someone who needs to make the wheat as part of the farmers and the windmill. And then the induced impacts, or the second level of impacts, and they're from the consumption from the employees, from the direct jobs, the company of 10 people, and also the indirect from the suppliers, so the wheat farmers, for example. And they go to the shop and buy things to live, and that generates also income and jobs. So this is what we measure through the socioeconomic evaluation, the number of jobs and value added mostly, which is the GDP, the contribution to the GDP, local or national or international for the European Union of the company. The second aspect of it is the quantitative environmental evaluation, which is more experimental. That's which is sort of we've begun, and we're trying to propose for the FanBest project. It's based on a different methodology. It's based on the more product aspect, and we try to look into either the footprint of the inventory methodology, and we chose the footprint. The different one being the inventory is basically the output of greenhouse gases per year, as well, and the footprint is more the output of greenhouse gases for a product in total. I mean, that looks at inventory will look more into the emissions for all the products of making the products, and the footprint is looking at the entire value chain. And if we look at this difference in dark blue, you can see that that would be the one that for the FanBest, that sometimes they higher, sometimes they lower for the footprint. But because we have economies based on services, mostly the inventory is lower than the actual footprint. France, for example, has an inventory of 6.6. That means that generally per capita, there's only 6.6 tons of GHG emissions per year, but the general footprint of the population is closer to 9.5. So that shows a stark difference in how we have to approach GHG emissions. And that's how we're trying to sort of look into how in this in the general evaluation. it's sort of what we use in general aspect. We look at companies and they are very mature, so they have account statement and they have all the necessary information that they use for that we can use for the evaluation. As part of FanBest, there was a new challenge that we took on, is that there was entrepreneurs that had an idea of how to make their products, but since the TRL was not advanced enough, or it was still the R&D and innovation had to still be going on full thrust, then we had to sort of imagine what an operating structure would look like. And that sort of come through sort of one-on-one meetings with the entrepreneurs and trying to understand how the operating structure would look like, or looks like now, and how they imagine to look like in a couple of years, in order to have sort of a more a comprehensive approach and do an ex-ante evaluation. So now we'll look at the results briefly, and we evaluated 4 companies, and one of them is has wished to have their results confidential, and it's Farwin. Denver is a company that looks into submerged web servers. Farwin is a energy efficient, well, energy producing boats, and it also fully remote controlled. There's an entrepreneur, it's Otero, which wants to put solar farms on top of Bateas in Galicia, and then Limerick Wave in Ireland that sort of look into making power takeoff technology for wave energy technologies, converters. Look at the first one. The methodology that we were able to develop with Vertigo Lab is, as part of the FanBest project, was to look into, if the data was available, to look into the regional level, because as we can see that as part of FanBest, it's the Atlantic area. So we want to look at the regional part of the Atlantic area, and more specifically here for Denver as the Pays de la Loire, a region in France. And as you can see that in this little graph on the bottom, is that most of it is direct impact, as because the operating structure and the costs were coming from mostly outside of Pays de la Loire. Therefore, the direct induced impacts from outside the regional territory. It is not surprising, because the supply chain, the drone supply chain, has not adapted to the technology yet, and so they had to outsource from outside the region, and perhaps they would put from inside later. But for now, it would look like that it would not have any great impact inside the region, but that's something to look into for future developments. Here we the second. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that these sort of general canvas were developed in Power BI, and there was, and that sort of helps. We show that to the beneficiaries. That's sort of that's the durable that they got. In terms of general multipliers, this is what we were more interested in, and the general ranking, in contrast to other sectors of activities, the more I say aggregated, such as agriculture, tourism, etc. And we see that in terms of value added in employment, it ranks significantly higher in the 17th out of 64 and 16th position. That means that they contributed more into the regional GDP and the employment in the region than the other, than 3/4, 75% of other sectors. In terms of Limerick Wave, same idea, except we look more into Ireland in general to sort of see how it would look like. And this was another interesting profile, because we want to look at the production of 1 unit of their technology and see how it would look like. And its contribution is interesting. It's a very capitalistic endeavor. That means that it requires very little amount of jobs. So 4 full-time employment for 1 million euros, and that contributes about 2.5 units. And as an interesting impacts on the direct, indirect, and induced indicators impacts. In terms of the ranking, in terms of revenues and jobs, as I said, because it's capitalistic, it's not very high, but in terms of value added, it's in the lower half, which shows that this kind of technology has significant impact on the national GDP. So to look at very briefly, because it has to be very quick, and the perspective and what we can remember from this project, that the blue economy projects, I mean, the one we studied at least were very highly capitalistic, and well, I wanted to say something else, but then they require fewer jobs. The green project, at least one indicator in the lower half ranking, which is, I thought, something very interesting, that they at least have a significant impact in at least one dimension. And they all made consistently high contribution to the territory's GDP. They were contributing to growth very highly. And we thought that the territorial approach provided an evolution to policymaker to follow the subsidies impacts. I mean, when we're trying to subsidize a project, how does it impact our own territory? And then we wanted to, I think some future projects should be accomplished to sort of maybe see what would be the impact of green and value chains. Well, thank you very much. Love you all.
Thank you very much, Morgan. And so now we are at the end of this webinar held today. And to finish, I would like to give the word to Patricia Martinez. She is from Craftium Consulting, and this is the last presentation. Patricia, when you want, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all of you for stay here, and special thank you Irene, my colleague Irene. One moment. Okay, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to stay here. And I would like to thank all the partners, the coaches and SMEs for their time, collaboration, and service, that showing their interest and involvement in the fund-based project. As some of you know, a few weeks ago, we got in touch with partners, coaches, and SMEs that participated in fund-based to carry out a survey that would allow to collect assessment and opinions on the specific projects and on other challenges related. This service, which is a part of a WP8 of this project, has had very satisfactory response, showing a rate of over 50%. This fact has allowed us to know the evaluation of fund-based, and above all, to verify common aspects that are the object of assessment. The objective of the survey was precisely to collect the opinion of all the actors involved in the program about their experience in fund-based, and learn about new proposals applicable for improving the competitiveness of the blue economy sector. I believe and I hope to be able to transfer the conclusions rigorously. So these conclusions that have led us to make a series of recommendations helped to improve support policies for startups and entrepreneurs in the Atlantic regions. Certainly, taking into account the real needs while having resource oriented towards innovation and growth. To begin with, we can say that the best fits valued factors in fund-based have been: first, the activities that have contributed to establishment of new contacts and knowledge of the main actors in the blue economy. Advice a la carte. And the third, maybe the most important factor, the identification and access to new instruments of European public financials. We start with the panel opinion on the highlights on the fund-based project framework. On the one hand, we are to appreciate aspects related to the information of the entire portfolio, like financial instruments to support innovation. In this regard, the excellent work carried out in WP8, in WP4 and in WP5 in relation to the mapping of all the actors of the blue economy and the financial instruments has been highlighted. Among other conclusions, the constant growth of this type of aid has been pointed out, as well as the complexity of access to these latest. On the other hand, the high quality training session for the beneficiaries has been highlighted, making it easy for them to advance in their TRL and in the constructions of their business plan or in their commercial expansion, locally, depending on the degree of the maturity of each on them. In relation in this aspect, the partners as a whole have had a certain difficulty in involving the target group of the blue economy companies, and above all in stimulating collaboration between them. Maybe for the difference could have been at the geographical and cultural level difference. Okay. Concerning assessment of cooperation in the macro region is as a key element in the competitiveness of its territory and the blue economy, they have considered that this type of cooperation, such as the one that has been developed through the fund-based project, can promote innovation and development growth of this sector in terms of employment and turnover. The main reasons of focus on the opportunity to establish synergies between the key players in the value chain, which facilitates future collaboration in many areas of the business, as well as allowing them to learn about the other work environment. Regarding the coaches, their general assessment has provided positive evaluation. First, the proximity established with the project, being able to adapt to the specific needs depending on project's maturity. That is advice on demand concerning of access to financial roadmap and organization, human resource needs, among other aspects. Secondly, assistance and support in the context of European programs or projects. For example, a financial instrument within the reach. That is a mention before showing the case of SMEs. Some coaches have facilitated the identification of this type grants by helping them elaborating their first candidacy. The importance of macro-region cooperation as an improvement in territorial competitiveness is believed to be fundamental. It allows the blue economy model to scale much faster by taking advantage of all the resources within the area, infrastructures, new initiatives, etc. In some cases, they have highlighted the role of fund-based as an exemplary of a program with an international projection, like opportunity to boost the blue economy sector. Otherwise, everything is limited to a local dimension. About projects benefits from the program, these beneficiaries have mainly spotted the opportunity that this project has brought in two key aspects: personalized advice and support to be able to carry out their growth plan, helping them to face challenge in different phases of a project, and even in some cases has even allowed them to present their first European project, and in establishment of new contacts and professional connection in favor of the business expansion. The program's assessment has been widely distributed, taking into account the various profiles and different levels of maturity concerning the beneficiaries' companies. They also consider the unanimity regarding the importance of macro-region cooperation as improvement in territorial competitiveness, and especially in the blue economy. Several reasons could justify this latest cooperation in details. Greater innovation, thanks to access to knowledge of strategic research in other markets. Facilities internationalization and detection of new nexus of a results of synergy that are established. Therefore, allows the identification of commercial partners in the other geographical areas in Europe. Countries and regions that are more stronger and more respectful the environment, we are respectful the environment. We are able to achieve by applying a blue economy model, the creation of sectors such as agriculture or fishing, among others, more competitive. And finally, the scales models much faster by taking advantage of the resources available within the entire area, human or infrastructure, among others. In relation to the proposals for improvement, we detected coincidence needs and in the opinions provided by the partners, coaches, and companies. This help us to organize and structure the proposals, obtain the following conclusions. First, facility access to the portfolio of financial, more adjusted sector reality. Second, simplify and reinforce current legislation. Third, promote the creation of local and regional entities to hold up innovation in the blue economy. A reinforcement of transnational cooperation that allows promotion, contact, and synergies with key players in the sector. Now, I will talk about each one of them. As indicated at the beginning of this intervention, we have to take into account the enormous portfolio of resources that currently exist. However, its great diversity and complexity will potentially be varied for SMEs. Therefore, it is necessary to attend to the following recommendations. The design of financial products should be more adapted and closer to the realities of the sector. Since a large part of them are far from the realities of this sector, there has been a financial gap in less mature subsector such as agriculture in the high seas or biotechnology, blue, and even at the time of business life. Second, promote training action for small and medium transnational natural investors in the sector that in return will stimulate transnational cooperation and allow many SMEs to scale or reach a higher leverage TRL. And third, simplify the portfolio, the access and application to access an application requirement so that SMEs will be able to understand and request independently. In this sense, the opinion has been unanimous. For the example of this interview, their opinion is necessary to promote, support, and facilities legal advice tools that allows SMEs to grow and interpret the current regulatory framework nowadays very uncertain. In this sense, the portfolio of recommendations reflected here today and after the analysis of this interview leads us to need for improvement and reinforcement the current regulation, simplifying them in some cases, such as in relation to innovation or others that currently lack of clarity in the legislation applied to microbiological products. For this reason, both coaches and SMEs indicated the need for specific legal advice to help them detect or interpret the regulation. In addition to contest, the agility in the authorization process, especially in relation to innovation, has been pointed out as key factor of competitiveness necessary for the Europe area as an example, since in countries like the USA. In USA, companies can be barely 1 year compared to countries in Europe, where the process lasts between 4 or 5 years. Okay, partners, coaches, and SMEs agreed that facilitating access to the portfolio of financial instruments, promoting of startups and companies in the sector, and proper compliance with the regulation, we are needed to promote local and regional entities to support specialist innovation in this sector and to serve as a channel for offer strategic and legal advice to companies, lead and promote activities to improve the competitiveness of companies in the specific regions. Route of communication and access to financial instrument, local, national, or international, and to be an instrument for disseminating the blue economy to society. So we need economic impact and generating awareness and social responsibility. Finally, we shall reinforce one of the most valuable aspects in this fund-based project, the opportunity to establish relationships with other actors in the sector. For this reason, the last recommendation aims at the creation of a formal and permanent transnational cooperation network in which the actors can share experience, solve problems, create teams, support local innovating entrepreneurs, and generate breakthroughs, accessing programs and publicate, improving knowledge of the blue economy at the population level. FunVest started these collaborations, but the effort should not end here. Instead, it should work on the continuity of this relationship. Fine. To complete this intervention, we also want to explain the support in the task of contributing to public policies and strategies that we are doing from CraftU. Within the task, this task, we are carrying out of the construction of a dynamic information system of the key agent in the field of cooperation of the cooperation blue economy that also shows the main innovation initiatives in these fields. Thus, it is possible to analyze the development of each of the thematic areas of the risk-free, of S3, of the blue economy, of reference in each of the participating territories. To do this, we take as a primary source of data the information provided by the European Commission on the AIDS 2020 and Horizon Europe programs, which are processed and analyzed using the Microsoft Market Intelligence tool, Power BI, to display the information visually and easy to understand. We carry out this service developing two activities. Analysis of data for the 2014 to 2020 period, which is currently underway and is expected to develop until 2023. Constructions of an analysis system for the 2021 to 2027 programming period that allows systematization and updating of the analysis. Fine. To round up, the next slide, this slide shows the summary of the map of concrete recommendations for improvement as a roadmap for policy makers. So thank you very much for your attention and for your patience with my English. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you. So we are at the end of this meeting today, and I would like to ask you if someone has any questions. Please feel free to do questions that may arise. So anyway, we have the contacts of the persons who did the meeting today. No questions. So, okay, we end this session. Again, thank you very much to all the partners for their time. And see you soon.
Welcome, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.